Hello and welcome to From the Edge. My name is Nicole Anderson and I am your host for this podcast. From the Edge is recorded in our Dubai studio, and our aim is to bring great minds and fresh thinkers from across the innovation debate. Today, I'm really excited to have in studio with me Mohamad Al Hinnawi. And Mohamad has come all the way from Riyadh. Mohamad is currently managing partner at Numetrics and has a very impressive career 20-year veteran, I should say, in the consulting industry, having worked across multiple sectors. He brings a breadth of experience to the boardroom, and his speciality is looking at the transformation agenda and the inception point between digital strategy and being a trusted advisor. Stakeholder outcomes are right at the pinnacle of what he is brilliant at. And today we are going to touch on the AI debate and what that means in the boardroom. He is no foreign entity to the boardroom, being a board advisor to a number of companies. And I also found out he is a doctoral researcher for Bath University in digital public policy and AI governance. So very impressive resume. Mohamad, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nicole. It's an absolute pleasure being here today and those transformative times discussing what we are looking forward to discuss on the AI front.
Yeah, my goodness. We are in the transformation on all fronts, I should say. But look, I was very excited by our preparation conversations for today, because I think in this time of upheaval, let's say, there isn't an industry that isn't being disrupted by AI as a technology and its implications for business models. But it's a topic of almost every boardroom. And what that means for, the typical processes, technology, decisions, what that means for operating models going forward. But also, it is a huge disruptor to an industry which you know very well, which of course is professional services and consulting. So I thought we could start with that, because I think there isn't a week that goes by where you don't have an article or a headline
100%.
talking about the big four, the big five, and how their business models are being disrupted. So why don't you, being a practitioner, take us through your view of what the opportunity and the challenge is for the industry?
Amazing. Well, thank you very much again, Nicole. And I, as you rightfully mentioned, across different industries that we are seeing today, AI is being a major disruptor. That transformation that is taking place is impacting everyone's thoughts, minds, how they do business, how they upskill themselves, and how they deliver value, pretty much. And definitely consulting as an industry is no foreign to what's going on. As a matter of fact, it's, I believe, one of those industries that are being disrupted. And when we say disrupted, not necessarily we're saying on the negative side of things, but potentially disrupted on a positive note as well, driven by what kind of opportunities AI can bring into the table. So having said that, I guess there are two different perspectives to everything and two different lenses that we can look at. Consulting in general is, or historically has been, that industry that works with leveraging frameworks, intellectual property, experience in different sectors and certain capabilities to accelerate value or bring value to clients at a certain pace that is usually quicker than the client's pace.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, consulting or consultants had this toolkit of specific frameworks, approaches, way of doing work that they could bring in to their clients and bring that different perspective. So I believe we've introduced two things here, like the intellectual property and the knowledge and the information, and the perspective or the element of judgment or supporting and making decisions that consultants bring to the table as well. The first perspective, when we talk about intellectual property and knowledge and access to information, I believe we are getting to a point where there's abundance when it comes to that. So your client is able to access a lot of information, knowledge, different frameworks that they can apply to their business, right? So from that front, there is going to be abundance when it comes to intellectual property and knowledge and what have you. But what remains scarce is basically the ability to make the decisions based on the intellectual property or the knowledge that you have developed, right? So the judgment element remains an opportunity for consultants to foster more and more, given that the knowledge is being accessible to everyone pretty much. So that's one side of the things. Now, if we want to look at the industry in general and the impact that AI or technology in general are having on the sector or on the industry, I would say there are four key lenses or elements that we can look at. First of all, we have the business model, then the operating model, you have the offerings and value propositions, and people and capability pretty much, right? So if we look at the business model overall, we all know in professional services, on consulting, it's pretty much a leverage on the time and material, right? So you have teams that put in the hours, generate outputs, and so on, and sell this to the clients with a specific value that is being derived. This element is changing right now because the way that clients are changing with AI being accessible to them right now and understanding that it's also accessible for consultants, they are expecting the value to be delivered at a fast pace and at scale. So if we look at it from that perspective, the economics or the unit economics in consulting are changing from traditionally that time and material or time-based model more into outcome or value or product that is generating value at a quick pace. So this disrupts the way consultants charge and sell projects and what have you. At the same time, it opens the opportunity to come up with products and accelerating value to the market and so on, which opens a lot of white spaces, a lot of different problems that consultants can solve and so on, right? But if you keep on adopting the original time and material model, this means you're potentially being successful in the value that you are generating, but maybe being broke because you're not adopting an evolved model into that business. So a redefinition or an uplift of this model or a change of the business model is extremely important at this time. The other element is the operating model itself. To deliver on the business model that we have discussed, consulting firms usually had their typical pyramid, right? Of, junior staff, analysts, consultants, senior consultants at the bottom of the pyramid. Then you would start into the managerial roles and then the leadership roles and so on. Now, most of the work that used to be handled and currently being handled by the junior staff, from analysis to benchmarks to synthesis to generating the point slides
Yes.
and what have you. Now it's something that can be done by the AI. So what we're seeing also a transformation at the level of the operating model from that pyramid into more of a diamond model, right? Where at the bottom you need less junior staff, more agents, basically, more AI agents, and you need to beef up the higher layers in this diamond, where at the middle you would have probably a larger number of people that are involved, larger number of consultants that are specialized, that can bring in the experience or specific expertise to solve certain problems at the client side. And I see at the senior level, the element of relationship and advisory and judgment would pretty much be maintained or refined, but not at the same level where other elements are refined. The third lens that we mentioned is the offerings and value propositions. Generalist kind of work or offerings on strategy and transformation that are done with pretty much the same from a consulting provider to another would need to change right now, because again, that generalist type of work is not going to be in vogue anymore, right? The access to the information, to the knowledge will be out there. And one important factor is that offerings now cannot stand at the level of this is a strategy offering and this is an execution or implementation offering, or this is a managed services offering, and so on. So we are moving more towards transformation journeys, from strategy to design to execution to even managing the services as one transformative journey rather than standalone offerings that are being delivered. Needless to say, there's a lot of collaboration that is taking place in between, the tech vendors, the consulting firms, the hyperscalers, and what have you, to come up with new offerings and new value propositions.
It's just, I'm listening to you. So, I had years I've only ever worked in technology, and my formative years, I count my lucky stars that I had that, opportunity. But I remember being vendor side, we'd always rely, the kind of pinnacle was the trusted advisor seat was always taken by the Big Four. And our objective, our mission in life, in fact, I used to manage all the relationships for the vendors with the big consulting companies. And it was kind of funny relationship where, the independence and that voice sitting, right, from one of the major consultancies, partner level, was like prime target. But then there was the other divisions, right, the tech divisions, right, services managers, business process outsourcing, which would make money off the vendor. So it was a kind of strange situation. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, as you're speaking, well, I've got so many questions, but as you're speaking, I'm thinking about the industry itself. The knock-on effect is all of these players will be shifting in terms of their jostling in position, right?
Correct.
And we can see that with the likes of OpenAI, and their strategy for implementation. Objectivity, sorry to say, but that feels a bit like no objectivity. So I hear what you're saying. I think the industry that trusted, there is always the need, and as AI becomes more prominent and the risk register grows, that place for objectivity has to sit within the industry. But what does it do to those revenue streams, right, on tech services, for example, on the offering side? I mean, it's going to be very interesting as how that plays out.
It is. And I think, the different players that we mentioned are all now experimenting on what goes on, right? When we say experimenting doesn't mean that, those entities are doing the work without, knowing what they are doing. It's definitely like informed experimentation, right?
Yeah.
But I think what is common right now is that common understanding that, you as a technology vendor cannot do the work how you used to do it before, so it's not a product that you go out to sell without really, being able to put in that objective assessment of why this product solves the problems of your client.
Yeah.
Likewise for consulting, from the perspective of the problems that consultants do. Now you need to accelerate that value. You need to accelerate that delivery, and you cannot do it without technology, so to say, right? So if you look at how the landscape of this integration is taking place, or the way that those different players are embarking on that change, you potentially see a lot of interest of collaborating, of working together from across of them. Technology vendors need that objectivity, or need to identify the element of value consulting and the return on the investments for their clients from the product that they do, right? Consultants want at the same pace to say, or to bring in the catalyst that showcases the tangible outcomes of what they are designing or what they are suggesting in the strategy work or what have you. So I don't think that there is any more room for like standalone or siloed kind of deliveries, and this will bring in more opportunities for more integration and end-to-end value for clients at the end of the day.
And I think also I've had this discussion with a couple of other really interesting people, more on the kind of commercials of outcomes. So you've mentioned that, right? So it's very difficult for people to wrap their heads around, whether it's customer side or operator side, let's call it that, how you make the outcome something tangible, because what a customer sees as potential outcome may be not possible, for the operator, unless they have exactly the same interpretation of it. And there's, as you say, this interdependency. So we were having this conversation with a global law firm, and they were saying contractually they're finding it incredibly difficult to basically prevent this siloed, well, you deliver a service to me, and if it doesn't work, you're not going to be paid, or that's it, it's over. The interlocking of capability and understanding, there's a joint risk and there's a joint opportunity. They're connected, right? Because most customers haven't done this before. And every AI journey, as far as I'm concerned, is unique. It's completely unique. And that has all kinds of commercial ramifications. So to think it's off the shelf and that's what I'm going to pay and that's what it's going to look like over a lifetime is impossible. This is the nebulous challenge with anything that goes beyond just the technology, the transformation agenda. Where does it begin and end? And no one really knows. We're all on this journey, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, though, I mean, if we think about it from that perspective, as you rightfully mentioned, now each client or business is either mandated to do some work on the AI front, right? If we're talking about governmental entities, especially here in the region, there is a mandate to go towards agentic AI and adopt more and more of the AI use cases and what have you. So there's either that mandate, and that belief or conviction that everyone equipped with a set of AI tools can do the work. And that pretty much raises the ambition at a pace where I don't think the current business or operating models or the anticipated outcomes can go at the same pace. And this is where the element of judgment is still extremely important, and this could potentially be an opportunity for consulting to sustain and maintain how they deliver value. So the thing is with AI, as you know, as humans, as organizations, we usually resist change. But what AI did is that it kind of developed this collective sense of urgency that we need to adopt the technology. Now, I believe this is a change worth resisting, honestly, because while there is really a major impact that we can get from AI, if we don't put it in the right perspective, if we don't leverage the right tools, if we are not involved day in, day out in how this will help us generate the value, then I think a lot of investments will just be lost, basically, on that front. So that's why, it's a cycle at the end of the day. There is this mandate. It's great that we have a lot of, capabilities via AI and so on. But again, you cannot, just leverage the technology the way it is on traditional or legacy business models or operating models, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is it. I mean, the whole model has been turned on its head, where even the infrastructure layer has been leading the charge, right, in this industry. And I know because I'm partly in it, right? It's insanity. It's insanity in some respects, as that's always the last thing people think about is like the physical layer. But in AI, it's a fundamental commercial. It's the main commercial consideration you should have, because it's literally the blood that flows through the capillaries of your ability to deliver AI is the physical layer, the compute. So the whole thing is topsy-turvy. But look, it's a fun time, okay? And on that point you mentioned, the leadership aspect, that judgment aspect, I wanted to touch on. So you've got to take in as much as you are not talking about the coined human in the loop as much as human in the lead.
Yep.
So what does that mean to a boardroom, human in the lead?
Amazing. I look at it from the that element of a reactive or a proactive approach, right? We're all now talking about human in the loop, where the regulations are pretty much enforcing some sort of human in the loop, to be part of developing any AI systems or solutions or what have you. But I do think that at this point in time, where human in the loop, like now, the exact time where we are using the technology and developing the systems, it's potentially human in the loop is in a position that can help us solve some of the issues that would result from the systems, say hallucinations, wrong decisions, or what have you, or even contain the layer of decision making and so on. But as the technology evolves, and we pretty much all know that now we are operating in the narrow system, or the artificial narrow intelligence that taps on specific systems. But 2, 3, 4 years down the road, we are emerging into artificial general intelligence, and then potentially ASI, the artificial super intelligence. And at that point in time, being in the loop is a bit late, right? So if you are on it's a little insufficient, exactly, because if we expect that people will be reviewing the outcomes at an agentic pace, we're a bit delusional, right? So think about the AI, the amount of outcomes that are going to be generated and so on. If the human is in the loop, the human is going to be a bottleneck. And if we think about it from a capitalist approach, then it's either we're going to remove the human from the whole cycle, right? Or we're just going to go into a loophole where we are not able to control the systems and what's being generated. So that's where the human in the lead comes into play, right? And this is what we need to plan for and start involving. So making sure that there is a clear intent on what we need to achieve with AI, right? There is an accountability factor that needs to be there. So putting in the right governance, the right guardrails, right? The right ethical practices, the usage behaviors or the guardrails on the usage behaviors of AI. Doing this proactively is what human in the lead means, basically, right? Making sure that we are proactively tapping on that problem, whether we see it or foresee it or we don't see it, We need to make sure that we just do not outsource everything to the system. And at an agentic pace, again, it's just the human is going to be a bottleneck if we're thinking about it from a human in the loop approach rather than in the lead approach. Yeah.
So there's a few things that I'm stringing through in my head in terms of the last three topics we spoke about. So just circling back, because this is all coming to us, like coming down to how we as good custodians within this industry, which fundamentally is the technology industry. I mean, this is the new technology industry. Yeah. How we act as good custodians is so many factors are coming together, whilst not, dropping the ball, so to speak, for our customers and, partners. So education is one, and education is a minefield for anyone, even in the industry, right? So from a board perspective, I'm intrigued because where do you typically, is there even a typical conversation you would have with the board? Assume they're committed and they have KPIs, whatever they are, right? Which is probably not the right way to start your project, but okay, they have a driver, whether it be fixed or fairly loose. What does the kind of initial conversations look like to tease out this, stakeholder value, as you put? So before they begin to plow money into project, where do you start that conversation?
Look, I think at the level of the board, things are getting clearer. The issue comes down to the practice, right? Because at the end of the day, the board, puts in the direction, develops a certain set of KPIs or outcomes that we need to look at, kind of influences good governance and, the proper guardrails and how we need the business to run and so on. And then, all of these gets cascaded down into the business. So I think the discussions that are taking place at the level of the board right now are well in position to evaluate that impact quickly. By all means, there's a major push towards the adoption of AI. But, those boards that do practice good governance or agile governance do have in mind that this needs to be contained and it needs to be practiced while making sure that there is an equivalent stakeholder value rather than only shareholder value that is being generated, right? So it's not only to leverage technology or AI solutions or changing the way we do business just to increase, the shareholder value and totally ignore the impact on employees, on customers, on clients, or what have you. So this is what a good and responsible discussion in the boardroom takes place whenever there is an intent behind the adoption of technology. So is it making sure that we are generating more for less and generating more in terms of stakeholder
value,
not only stakeholder value, but are we tapping on it from a financial
Yeah.
value perspective or from an overall stakeholder value
Right.
perspective, right? So I guess this is where the discussions, the responsible discussions that are on the board table that are taking place, and there is a level of maturity that I have observed taking place right now. In contrary, there are definitely other board discussions or executive leadership discussions that are primarily focused on how we can, leverage this technology and, to disrupt how we used to do business, to reduce our costs, to produce more with less and what have you, which is a strict shareholder value discussion.
Yeah. And I mean, underpinning that would probably have been the kind of innate culture stroke discipline of the business anyway. So back to the consulting industry and its evolution. Now, you talked about this move of a pyramid to a more diamond shape. And as you're speaking there, I'm thinking, okay, well, that diamond shape assumes a much thinner layer at the top and the bottom. So on one hand, theoretically, the kind of fresh blood coming into the practices is slimming down, which is a whole different subject on, what do our young talent do with their lives if they can't get jobs. So, it was always a very desirable path, right?
Correct.
A knowledge economy, career, which is going to get harder. So that's one aspect of this new model. So it's very important, right, to have that diversity in the demographic within your business. But on the other hand, the top is also lean. And these senior partners or practice leaders, they may or may not, don't know, but probably they're at the end of their careers or nearing the end of their careers. And you have to ask the question, how could they possibly, even when we're in the thick of it, be in that very important influential position if their exposure points perhaps are limited, right? Or they're just not working in the technology or the industry as a whole that frequently because they just have a job to do. So how do you see that playing out? How does that tip the balance in terms of...
This is a continuous and very interesting discussion because, as you rightfully mentioned, so if we are to take a pause right now and say we are not hiring more juniors, right? We're gonna slim down that, bottom of the diamond right now if we're moving towards this, and we're gonna accelerate the work or the production via agents and millions of agents and billions of agents and what have you. So what happens a few years down the road if we need those senior staff that we will need still humans and people and consultants to develop a set of expertise and learn and develop their judgment capabilities and what have you. So if we take that pause right now and totally cancel it and get it away, get it out of the pyramid and in the operating model, I believe we're going to move into a problem sometime down the road. However, as we are going through this transition, it is interesting to see to which extent we can leverage the technology to be able to generate value at a faster pace. Because at the end of the day, this is what we are expected to do, right? From our clients. The thing is, on that level, that pyramid or that future consulting pyramid will potentially look less like a human pyramid and more of an intelligence platform, with elite expertise. And when we say elite expertise, there will still be that potential or opportunity for junior staff to come in, to be trained on specific industries, specific capabilities that are hyper-focused, that can bring in specific value to the clients rather than being generalists, right? So this is one of the areas that will remain intact. And I do believe boutiques are in a very well position to do so now, right? So boutique consulting firms now have an unprecedented opportunity to claim elite without being elitists, basically.
Yes.
You know?
It makes perfect sense.
And bring in the right people, the high caliber from universities and what have you, that are able to train or be trained already in their studies on specific fields and so on, say sustainability, ESG, and so on. These are topics that will be in demand, and we will need the right people to be able to deliver on them, rather than having generalists to deliver the work. So yes, there would be potentially, at least in transition, less opportunities for, fresh talents to get into this pyramid, right? But at the same time, with the pace at which we are moving and the support of AI and the technology, I would say at the same time that current junior staff would have more mental capacity. We're freeing more of that mental real estate for them to solve problems that we're potentially not solving right now. And this is what will provide the firms with another opportunity to also eventually onboard new talent that is able to train and help in solving those new problems, and develop their skills and their expertise through the new operating model.
I've maintained for a while, only through bumping my own head, and as an operator, is that the world has changed, where the pursuit of what this technology has done is eroded the moats or the uniqueness of almost any offering, right? Because every offering is built on another offering when it comes to AI. So really the ability to assemble, and I use that word very loosely, to architect and assemble is the knowledge journey that people will buy. It's not the elements, because the elements keep on changing, right? And so many people, unfortunately, including investors have lost their shirts because they've betted on components, which just get eaten up by, the big 5, 7, whatever they are now, in terms of, the big model players, as an example. Now, I'd like to touch on 2 more topics in the time we've got. Sure. I have to ask you this, and I hope it's okay, but you've come in from Riyadh today, so I'm thrilled about that, and we're living in such interesting times. We had a little bit of a coffee chat about the world we're in, never a dull moment. And actually the aim of this podcast is really to bring positive news out of this part of the world, because it has amazing talent, right? Through all kinds of friction, we continue. So headlines in Saudi recently have said some big names have been, checks are starting not to be written, or, payments are being slowed down. I'm using that language very flowery for a reason, but you get my drift. So there seems to be, certainly in Saudi, a move to rationalize, to look, at national interests. And that includes, your industry. How is that happening? Is that something you can talk about?
Well, as you rightfully mentioned, it's to rationalize and look at national interests, basically, right? And this is the right of any sovereign country and authority to do so, I believe. The thing is, we're now at a phase where, we're approaching 2030 and that vision and so on. And if you've noticed, and it's not alien to anyone, that leap that Saudi has done over the past 10 years across different sectors and so on. So I do believe that, all of the changes that are taking place now are potentially put in place to support realization value in a different manner than it used to be delivered, right? So there needs to be focus, outcomes, rather than only strategy and talks, right? So this is a phase, and I believe it's a normal phase in any transformation. No one can understand where AI will take us, how the spending on this will be versus the spending on consulting and what have you. But as long as we develop in consulting in a way that we are able to tap on the technology, leverage it to accelerate value, and have faster time to market when we are delivering the value and so on, this is what will get consulting back into the game, so to say. So it's about focus. It's about, even now with the challenges that we are experiencing, if you look at certain sectors that are currently vibrant or strongly aligned with Vision 2030 in Saudi, that are hyper specialized and so on, those are still fostering and working normally. So I guess it's about where the value needs to be generated, how it will be realized, and if any consulting firm is able to unlock this formula, I believe they're still there. The potential is still high.
That's great. I mean, look, I think any market, any cycle has a correction, and it's maybe in the eyes of the outside world, maybe a forced correction, but probably not. I think there were moves to, as you say, for a country that's evolved so rapidly, so quickly, diversified so quickly, and I had to upskill. It's a time of reckoning. So it'll be very interesting to see where the country goes and how it prospers. Bringing to life its own talents. And I mean, you're right in the thick of it. So, I can always call on you to give me an update. So Mohamad, just as we close down the conversation, and it's been a great conversation. I've learned so much from you today, and we could go on. But I think the audience would love to know about how you spend your time, your world at New Metrics, and what that means in terms of opportunity. Don't be shy. Where can they find you? Where can they look you up? All of that good stuff.
Amazing. How do I spend my time? I guess, anyone who's in a leading position nowadays in business needs to spend an enormous amount of time in learning and upskilling and, reflecting on, how they used to work and how they envision the future of work to be. So I currently spend a lot of time reading about AI, how it's impacting our lives, our businesses, and how would potentially the future look like in this. I keep on upskilling myself. So I'm, into vibe coding right now. Excellent. And way beyond the prompting and so on, because this is a very important topic as well. So how will we react to the technology and how we will use it, right? Think of, the intent that we start with at certain points. So social networks, for example, social media platforms were initially supposed or came with the proposition that we are connecting people together, right? But, there are misuses all over the place and so on. And this could happen with AI at a very fast pace. So we don't want to be the mere users that are just consumers without being able to capitalize on this technology. So I spend a lot of time learning on that, whether on the level of prompting, whether on the level of vibe coding or what have you. I can tell you I had a lot of ideas that, I struggled to envision how they would look like. Now, in a matter of an hour, you can develop a prototype or what have you. So this is pretty much where I spend most of my time when it comes to learning and upskilling. On the level of New Metrics, again, as I mentioned before, on the level of boutiques, I believe that boutiques have very interesting times to navigate and, you know, uplift on the level of offerings, on the level of value that we can bring in, and so on. And luckily, New Metrics is one of those companies that has always been specialized on the level of experience management and digital experiences and ESG. So there is focus over there and so on. And the time we are spending right now as a leadership team is to look more and more of how we sustain and grow our business and transform the way we operate. So pretty much looking into refreshing our operating model, our value propositions and offerings, and how we go to the market. And what was the third question?
Well, where to find you? Where to find you in the business?
I'm very active on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So I can always be found on LinkedIn. I share a lot of posts and articles over there. So I'm putting that learning that what I'm reaping out of the hours of learning into thoughts on my LinkedIn. I can be reached over there, and I'm usually active and responsive there.
Amazing. And of course, as we go into post-production, we'll include your website details. So, Mohamad, thank you again. As I said, it's been a very rich conversation, and we could go on, but alas, you've got a meeting very soon,
Yep.
so we need to bring that to a close. But hopefully, we can continue the conversation, and people will love, I'm sure, the opportunity to reach out to you.
We sure can, and thank you very much for this opportunity, Nicole. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've also benefited a lot of this discussion, and it also opens a lot of horizons for more discussions in the future. So thank you again.
Brilliant. Thank you. So that brings this episode to a close. Look out for the next one. We are super active. I think it's such an interesting time here in the region, right at this moment. Nothing is stopping. We're putting a foot in front of each other every single day. But look out for the next episode. Now, from the edge, it's goodbye from me. Thank you.